Number two, in your outreach and your marketing,
Yes.
it's multifaceted. You have to have
Yes.
multiple lines in the water, and those have to be going all the time.
Love
And
it.
what you want to do is build them into your system so
Yes.
you don't even have to think about them. They just happen. So you don't want to be in that place of I need new patients.
Yes.
You're thinking where your next new patient is coming from.
I want to ask you a question about some nuts and bolts in the practice. So
Yes.
you know that I enjoy talking, shifting the conversation to, I spoke to you about previously about this. There's BD and PD. PD being your personal philosophy and growth, and your like philosophical growth within the chiropractic profession. But you've also got business development and the fundamentals that work in any business, and they're universal. They are business laws that work in any business, whether that's you need a marketing department and you need to understand your accounts, etc. So what would you say has been fundamental to helping you grow over the years? And we've spoken marketing a little bit before, but really like ground root stuff, what would you say to someone you've got to have? If you had to have one thing or two things, what would they be from a marketing / new client acquisition perspective, something like that?
So two things that I would say. Number one is not the marketing part, but what you're doing in the office to assess a person. Because my really firm values are that you have to be doing some outcome assessment that you're showing a person of what's going on with them that they visually can see. I'm not going to talk about which type, but you have to have something like that, and that you're recommending a course of care to get an outcome. Nice. Those two things are as important as the marketing you do, because you could do a stellar Facebook ad campaign and a stellar screening, and then when the person comes in the door, if you're recommending some minimal number of visits to see and see, hey, try this and like it, if you feel good, we'll continue, and you're not having some kind of initial assessment and then reassessing it, don't even bother doing the marketing. Because it's a leaky bucket. Right? And I see that so often. So you've got to get that part in, right? And you can go, all levels of equipment, but you can do things on a small budget too. But you need to have something that you're recommending, a course of care. We don't divide it. There's different rules, regulations, and cultures. And you have to have something that they can see. This is what's going on with me, and you're going to measure it again later.
An objective measurement.
Yes, that is a key. Otherwise, don't even market. Okay.
Got it.
So that's number one. Number two, in your outreach and your marketing, it's multifaceted. You have to have multiple lines in the water, and those have to be going all the time. And what you want to do is build them into your system so you don't even have to think about them. They just happen. So you don't want to be in that place of I need new patients. You're thinking where your next new patient is coming from. You build into your practice some things that are ongoing always, and you might put a different spin on them. You might do, put different, new wheels on the car and make it, paint it differently, but you're doing the same things habitually over and over again every single month. And sometimes you'll, strike oil, and sometimes you won't. But if you have multiple fish and multiple lines in the water, you're going to catch a lot of fish. And when one isn't working, you move the line a little bit. So you have to have that process. And I'll do that while I'll map out the whole year. I know I do community wellness dinners, dinner with the doc. I know that I do that. I've done them for 15 years. If I've done them for 15 years, do you think like I just doing it because I want to feed a lot of people, right? Like I've got to be making money on it. Otherwise I wouldn't keep doing it, right? I've got to be getting patients on it. So I will look, I want to do it. I know I want to do it every month. I'll plan the whole year. I'll schedule the whole year. That's happening. January, those are all the dates. It's set up with the restaurant. I don't have to think it again, right? So, and that's in. I've got my titles, I got my locations and times, and then it's done. So, right? So it's just built in. And then in my results review, I'm going to tie in that it's just every time in my results review with people that I am saying, and you're coming to the dinner, right?
Nice.
But I don't second guess it. I have a process of how I do it, but that is built in that they are going to the community dinner with a guest, right? So, and again, it's built in. I know people will bring new patients because they'll bring friends and they'll refer people to it, right? Then the other thing is classes. I'm an addict at doing classes. I do so many classes in office, out of office. We pretty much have a class a week, more or less, in our office, and have forever. And I don't do them because I just want to stay late and, you know, not see my kids till later. I do them because I want to educate people and because they make an impact, because people will refer people, even if they don't bring new patients, guests to the talk, they will become more valuable to your practice because they will refer people and they will stay longer. People that are educated stay in care longer.
And engaged. They're engaged. Like, you know, they're
engaged. And that has to happen. So that fuels it. I mean, the people that never go to class, if you didn't even have a class, guess what? You're going to get less referrals and people are going to stay in care less, right? And they're not going to get the most out of care. And you want people to get a lot out of care. Then the next thing is, so I talked about dinners, I talked about talks, about dialing them in. The other one that's really important is community building. And this is something that's pivoted for me in the last couple of years, which is I've realized that there was a time, and I practiced a while, I practiced, you know, over 20 years. And so I practiced before email, right? So, so that, you know, there was a difference. I practiced before cell phones being something, there was social media, and having a website and was important. I've actually practiced without a website. You know, we didn't even have one at some point because it wasn't a big deal. So I've seen different changes. People right now are information overloaded. They're information overloaded, and they're connection deprived and community deprived. They're information overloaded and connection and community deprived. There was a time where I could do a class about 5 keys to lowering your cholesterol without drugs. And we'd pack it easily. Like, people would flock to it. And now, if people wanted that kind of information, they would do this. Right? They would pick this up and say, okay, well, how do I do cholesterol without drugs? And they have a ton of information. Right? There's so much information. So we had to switch our communication and experience to making our events a community experience. Because with all of this stuff, they're having actually less connection. They're more disconnected than they ever were before, and they're hungry for connection. So if your events can create connection and community, that's of huge value, and people will come to that more. So create that experience of your offices. It's not just information, but they want to be part of your community, and they'll bring other people to your community.